I'm James Demer, the audio nomad, and today we're going to talk about the long-awaited BLON B03 II. Let's get into it. Believe, let music burn, Apathy, never give up. That's the acronym that BLON stood for in 2019 when the original BLON B03 came out. And in 2025 now, they've ditched most of the fun stuff and just put let music burn on the box for the BLON B02. Kind of boring. The BLON B02 is a lot like the original BLON in its construction, the way it fits, its ergonomics, its simple packaging, certainly its price. And I would say, if you don't want to stay till the sound impressions of this, it's an improvement over the original BLON B03, which, if you remember, Hawaii Bad Boy rated #1 for quite a while on his ranking list. The original BLON B03 was #1 in 2019, maybe even crept into 2020. It was really good. Certainly a lot of better IEMs have come out since then. And I think that there was sort of a hype around this original BLON B03 because it was a inexpensive single dynamic driver that sounded really, really incredible, was made of high quality components, and it was just kind of the perfect package at the perfect time in the IEM space. The BLON B03 II is a lot like the original BLON B03 in many, many ways, with the exception of improved sound signature slightly. There are a lot of things that I think they could have improved on the BLON B03 over the last 5 years that they sort of missed on for me. The original BLON B03 was always a struggle for me and for others to get to fit correctly in our ears. It was one of those IEMs that, it has a short nozzle. It's a weird little shape. It's kind of like a little jelly bean shape. And for whatever reason, it just wanted to kind of pop out of my ears. It never stayed in very well. It wasn't something that I would use doing any sort of active endeavor because they would just fall out of my ears. And I found on the original BLON, I had to use foam tips because foam tips tended to grip in my ears better. The BLON B03 II actually hasn't improved on fit at all. They're still very finicky and very, very difficult to stay in my ears. I actually, after trying the tips that it comes with and a lot of different styles of tips, found that this particular short, fat foam tip was the only tip that would allow these BLON B03 IIs to stay in my ear. The cable, I mean, look at this. It's got this like wacky ram head, kind of curly Q, over stiff cable ear bend thing that just adds to these IEMs wanting to pop out of my ears. But the rest of the cable is actually very gorgeous. It's thin, it's supple, exhibited no microphonics. It's got a really nice chin slider. It's a decent cable for a $30 IEM. Another thing that I dislike about the BLON B03 II is it could be a venting thing. It does have one small front vent, and maybe it's the foam tips, but if the IEM isn't positioned just perfectly in my ear, I don't hear it at all. It's like the sound just stops. I just don't hear it. It's like the IEM stopped working and then I have to kind of wiggle it around and then it comes back. So that's a super, super bummer. But when you get everything just right, these sound phenomenal. They sound so good. They probably sound better than most $30 IEMs. Frankly, I put them up there with the Sennheiser IE200 and maybe even touching the 600 in some instances. It's a resolving, detailed, musical, fun listen that has good separation from mid bass to vocals, shimmery highs, those hi-hats, cymbal strikes sound really good. The bass impact is clean. I wouldn't call it overpowering. It's not a powerful bass IEM, but it does deliver a confident, clean bass that doesn't bleed into the mids. And wow, they're really nice. If you want to see a comparison, I'll show you in a close-up. I still have my old original BLON 03s. The 03 IIs that I got are it's also a metal shell, and it's kind of a black, I'd call it a textured, painted black surface. And the original BLON 03s I have are this chrome finish. And honestly, the shells look pretty similar. The nozzles are also quite similar. I had to glue the cable onto the BLON 03, the original BLON 03, because I think I did this like 5 years ago. The old 2 pins kept popping out or something like that. And I finally just used some epoxy and glued them into place, and have this Trip-A-Win cable on that is a good cable. It's actually a great cable because it's very supple and soft, and well, I don't think it adds anything to the sound. It definitely makes the IEM stay in my ears better. I'm going to show you a graph of the overlay of both the BLON 03 and the 03 II, and you can get an impression of how the sound signature might change between the two. I'd also like to show you, just for fun, and I'll show you a graph of this. I remember after listening to the BLON 03 original back in 2019, I picked up these Urban Fun something or others, which were recommended, and these are a little bit more expensive. They're also a metal shell, and these fit my ears a lot better, and they actually sounded more mature than the BLON 03s. I like them a lot. It's an Urban Fun something or other. I don't know if Urban Fun ever made anything beyond this IEM, but from a historical standpoint, this was kind of the start of the really exceptional, inexpensive IEM, at least as far as I'm aware. I did get my first set of IEMs in the late 90s. They were at Emotics, and my first customs in, 2005, 2006. But I'd say I started really dabbling in cheap IEMs in the late teens, and the BLON 03 was super hot on the scene. And then things like these Urban Funds just started popping up, and then it allowed things like Truthier and some of the less expensive Kiwi Ears products. And there are so many sub $50 high quality IEMs out there that are often single dynamic drivers, not always. I think the P-Audio Legacy 3, which was $130, which was a dynamic driver, and then 2 BAs, was also in the mix for a next tier up, but great sounding IEM. It was just a fun time in the hobby, and I think it probably still is when you can buy inexpensive IEMs that are either, all you can afford, or just an impulse purchase. And knowing that whether it's an impulse purchase or it's the best you're going to have for a while, that you're getting something that sounds really good and will allow you to be immersed in your music and your experience is really tremendous. It's hard to do that with just about anything else, whether it's a bicycle or a skateboard or a couch or a coffee maker or whatever, whatever your hobby is. I don't know, $30, satisfy your deepest musical itch. It's pretty great. Of course, you have to have a phone or a source. That's the other thing that I would say about the BLON 03 II is you don't need to drive this with an amp. You don't need fancy cables. You may need some good tips, and you may need a little bit of time and care to get the BLON 03 II to fit your ears well. But once you've done that, you're good to go. And they're a lot of fun. And you'll probably have them 5 years from now because they are built like a tank. If you have any comments, if you have the original BLON 03, if you have an old set of something that is, kicking around in a drawer or shoebox that you love, dig it up, give it a listen, and put your comment below. I'd love to hear what your historical IEM journey has been. If this is your first set of IEMs, the BLON 03 II could be a very good choice for you. Just be aware it's a little finicky, but it's built well. And my guess is, in terms of audio quality, it's also a solid bet. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by Linsoul.com. Linsoul sells IEMs, headphones, amplifiers, digital to analog converters, cables, really just about anything you could want for personal hi-fi or even home hi-fi. Their prices are great, the quality is exceptional, and their customer service is really second to none. Check them out in the link below.